Was Casanova a master of seduction or a victim of his own charms? This question has been debated for centuries, ever since the name Casanova became synonymous with the art of romance and seduction. Giacomo Casanova, an Italian adventurer, author, and womanizer, has left an indelible mark on history and popular culture. His amorous exploits across Europe during the 18th century have been well documented in his memoirs and have been the subject of countless books, plays, and films. But was he really the master of seduction we've come to know him as, or was he ensnared by the very reputation he cultivated? Casanova's life was as complex as the man himself. He was a man of many talents and many faces. He was a lawyer, a clergyman, a soldier, a violinist, a gambler, a spy, a diplomat, and even a librarian. But above all, he is best remembered for his romantic conquests. But were these conquests a testament to his prowess and charm, or were they a reflection of a man who was a slave to his own desires and reputation? This video aims to delve deep into the life of this enigmatic figure and explore the dichotomy of his existence. Was he truly a master manipulator who used his charm and wit to woo women, or was he a man trapped in the web of his own making, a victim of his own insatiable desires and the expectations of society? The life of Casanova is a fascinating tale, filled with intrigue, romance, adventure, and scandal. It's a story that has captivated the world for centuries, and it's a story that continues to fascinate us today. But behind the legend, behind the tales of passion and adventure, who was the real Casanova? Was he the master seducer, the charming rogue who could win the heart of any woman? Or was he a man who was ultimately undone by his own passions and the weight of his reputation? Join us as we unravel the mystery surrounding the life of Casanova. Born in Venice in 1725 to actors, Casanova's journey was far from ordinary. Venice, a city known for its theatrics and grandeur, was the perfect backdrop for a life that would be anything but mundane. From an early age, Casanova exhibited a sharp intelligence and a captivating charm, attributes that set the stage for his later escapades. His parents, both actors, saw potential in their son and sent him to study law. However, the young Casanova found the rigid structure of academia stifling. His intelligence was matched only by his rebellious spirit, and it wasn't long before he was expelled due to scandalous behavior. A scandal, mind you, that was the first of many in his life. This expulsion, while a setback, only served to fuel young Casanova's thirst for adventure. He was not one to be bound by societal norms or rules. Little did the world know a legend was in the making. The expulsion was a turning point for Casanova, marking the beginning of his infamous journey. Banished from his home city of Venice, a young Casanova was thrust into a world that was as uncertain as it was exciting. It was an era of enlightenment and decadence, a time when the old world was giving way to the new. And just as the world was changing, so too was Casanova. He journeyed across Europe, from Paris to Dresden, Rome to Madrid, leaving a trail of scandal and intrigue in his wake. His charm was irresistible, his wit unparalleled, and his ability to win hearts was legendary. His encounters varied, from European nobility to artists, from philosophers to courtesans. His charm was his passport, opening doors that would have remained closed to others. His ability to win people over was not just a talent, it was an art form he honed to perfection. Yet as his reputation grew, so too did the complexities of his life. Every city he visited, every heart he won added another thread to the intricate tapestry of his existence. His charm was not without consequences. With every encounter, every adventure, he was weaving a web of expectations and reputations that would become increasingly difficult to escape. Casanova was a man of many faces. To some, he was a charmer, a man who could make the heart flutter with just a single glance. To others, he was a rogue, a man who used his charm to advance his own ambitions. And to others still, he was a mystery, a man who lived his life on his own terms, defying conventions and expectations. But whatever face he presented to the world, one thing was certain: Casanova was making a name for himself. He was becoming a legend in his own time, a symbol of the libertine spirit of the age. But this fame came with a price. As his legend grew, so too did the pressures and expectations. The man who had once been a simple Venetian was now Casanova, the master of seduction. Casanova was making a name for himself, but at what cost? Casanova's charm was undeniable, but was it his gift or his curse? This question is one that has intrigued historians and romantics alike for centuries. Giacomo Casanova, born in the city of love Venice, was known far and wide for his amorous escapades. His reputation as a seducer was not just a product of his personal endeavors, but also a reflection of the societal norms of the 18th century. In a time when courtly love was prized, Casanova was a master of the game. His charm was not limited to his physical attributes. Casanova was a polymath, fluent in several languages, well-versed in the sciences, and a talented musician. His intellect was as captivating as his looks, and it was this combination that made him irresistible to women. However, to label Casanova simply as a playboy would be to overlook the complexity of his character. His numerous affairs were not just about conquests, but also about seeking affection and companionship. Despite his numerous liaisons, he wrote in his memoirs of his unending search for true love. Yet, society often has a way of simplifying complex narratives. Casanova was perceived by many as a libertine, a man who indulged excessively in sensual pleasures. His reputation as a seducer was not just a result of his actions, but also a label imposed upon him by a society that was both fascinated and appalled by his lifestyle. This reputation was further cemented by his memoirs, Histoire de ma vie, or Story of My Life, where he chronicled his affairs in explicit detail. The memoirs were not just a recounting of his escapades, but also a reflection of his struggle with his own desires and the societal expectations of his time. In the end, was Casanova a master manipulator, using his charm and intellect to seduce women, or was he a victim, trapped by his own desires and the image society had created for him? Whether manipulator or manipulated, Casanova's image was forever tied to seduction. But like Icarus flying too close to the sun, Casanova's downfall was inevitable. A life of excess and indulgence would inevitably catch up to him. And so it did, in the summer of 1755, when he found himself arrested and imprisoned for his scandalous lifestyle. The authorities had finally grown tired of his antics, his blatant disregard for societal norms just too much to bear. He was charged with numerous offenses, among them, affronts to religious morality and public decency, and his sentence was 5 years of imprisonment without trial. His confinement was in the infamous Leads, a network of cramped, grimy cells perched high in the Doge's palace in Venice. It was a place designed to break spirits, to punish those who dared to defy the Republic. But if they thought this was the end of Casanova, they were sorely mistaken. In a daring display of cunning and audacity, Casanova orchestrated an escape that seemed straight out of a thrilling adventure novel. Using a small metal spike, he managed to burrow a hole through the wooden ceiling of his cell. On a fateful night, he climbed through this hole, across the leaden roofs from which the prison took its name, and down a palace wall to freedom. His escape sent shockwaves through Venice and beyond. The man who had been a thorn in the side of the authorities was now at large, a fugitive in his own city. His reputation, already infamous for his seductive exploits, was now further amplified by his audacious jailbreak. This event, more than any other, perhaps best exemplified the duality of Casanova. He was both the charming seducer and the audacious outlaw. His life was a series of escalating escapades, each more outrageous than the last, each adding another layer to the myth that was Casanova. Casanova was now not only a seducer, but also an escaped prisoner. His downfall and imprisonment, far from breaking him, only served to fortify the legend that he had become. Casanova's later life was a stark contrast to his earlier escapades. After his daring escape from prison, Casanova sought a more stable, less chaotic existence. He traveled extensively across Europe, trying to escape the notoriety that trailed him like a relentless shadow. Casanova's reputation as a master of seduction, however, followed him wherever he went. His name had become synonymous with charm and allure, a double-edged sword that opened doors yet also confined him to a specific image. He was the man who charmed women, the man who slipped away from the clutches of the Inquisition, the man who seemed to live his life on his own terms. Yet he yearned for a semblance of normalcy, a chance to be more than just Casanova, the seducer. In his later years, Casanova found himself in the service of the Count of Waldstein in Bohemia, where he served as a librarian. A far cry from his former life, this role offered him the stability he had longed for. Yet, it was also a constant reminder of his fall from the glittering salons of Europe to the quiet solitude of a library. During these years, Casanova penned his memoirs, Histoire de ma vie, or Story of My Life. These writings offered an intimate glimpse into his life and times, painting a vivid picture of 18th century Europe. They also served as a testament to his enduring reputation, cementing his image as a legendary seducer for generations to come. Casanova passed away in 1798, leaving behind a legacy larger than life itself. His death marked the end of an era, but not the end of his influence. His story, his charm, and his charisma continue to resonate, inspiring countless books, movies, and anecdotes. Even in death, the shadow of Casanova the seducer loomed large. His life was a testament to his charm and wit, but also a cautionary tale of the dangers of a reputation that becomes larger than life itself. From the salons of Europe to the quiet corners of a bohemian library, the name Casanova continues to echo, a symbol of seduction and intrigue that transcends time. So, was Casanova a master of seduction or a victim of his own reputation? This question has been at the heart of our exploration today. We've journeyed through the life of this infamous figure, tracing his steps from his humble beginnings to his rise as a renowned seducer and his eventual downfall. The narrative of Casanova's life is as complex as the man himself. On one hand, he was undeniably a master of seduction, a man who perfected the art of charm and persuasion. His exploits, as recorded in his memoirs, reveal a man who was adept at navigating the social and emotional landscapes of his time. He understood the desires and vulnerabilities of those around him, and he used this knowledge to his advantage. But was he a puppet master pulling the strings, or was he himself entangled in the web of his own creation? There's a school of thought that suggests Casanova was a victim of his own reputation. As his fame grew, so did the expectations. The world expected Casanova to be the ultimate seducer, and he was compelled to play the part. It's plausible that the persona he crafted became a mask he couldn't remove, a role he couldn't escape. Casanova's life is a mirror reflecting the complexities of human nature. His story raises questions about identity, desire, and the nature of fame. It forces us to examine our own perceptions and beliefs, to question the narratives we accept without scrutiny. So, was Casanova a master or a victim? The answer isn't black or white. Like most aspects of human life, it exists in shades of gray. Perhaps he was both a master and a victim, a puppeteer and a puppet, a charmer and a charmed. What's certain is that we cannot dismiss him as a mere libertine or reduce him to a caricature. His life was a labyrinth of contradictions and complexities, and it's within these intricacies that the true essence of Casanova resides. Whether master or victim, Casanova's life continues to fascinate us centuries later. Our journey into the life of Casanova comes to an end, but the debate continues. We've traversed the winding roads of his life, from his birth and early years, through his infamous exploits and eventual downfall. We've seen the man who was both a master of seduction and perhaps a victim of his own charms. As we reflect on Casanova's life, we cannot help but be struck by the sheer complexity of his character. A man of many faces, he was a seducer, a gambler, a writer, a prisoner, and more. His life was a whirlwind of passion, risk, and constant movement. Yet, it's his reputation as a master of seduction that has firmly etched his name into the annals of history. But was Casanova truly the master of seduction, or was he a victim of his own reputation? The answer, it seems, is not as clear-cut as one might think. His charm and wit undoubtedly won him many hearts, but these same qualities also led him into a life of constant turmoil and ultimately his downfall. His reputation, once a tool for success, became a complex web from which he could not escape. It led him to a life of constant movement, fleeing from one place to another, always one step ahead of those who sought to bring him down. In many ways, Casanova's life is a mirror to our own. We all wear masks, playing different roles depending on the circumstances. And like Casanova, we too can become entrapped by the images we project to the world. So, let's continue this conversation. Let's delve deeper into the life of this fascinating character. Let's question, debate, and reflect on the many facets of Casanova's life and legacy. In the end, perhaps Casanova himself said it best: "I can find no pleasanter pastime than to converse with myself about my own affairs, and to provide a most worthy subject for laughter to my well-bred audience."